Hello guys, it's Jason Elliott here again, and I'm just going to talk to you for a moment from my perspective as a radio show DJ about why I don't like to receive CDs. And there are three basic reasons. One is about professionalism, one is about time, and one is about money. So let's do it kind of in reverse order, shall we? When you're a performer that's starting out, or even if you've been going for a good few years, the cost of producing CDs is still quite a bite out of your pocket. And as far as I'm concerned, as a musician person myself, I think that money should really be with the musician rather than gathering dust on my shelf. And the reason for that is that when I get sent a CD, the only thing I do, I'm afraid, is actually stick it into the computer and turn it into digital files straight away. And then it just goes on the side. Sometimes I'll give them away as prizes on the radio show, but most of the time, I'm afraid that they don't. They sit in a pile. And that's obviously not the best use of your time and money. So as a musician, you need to be making as much money from as many other ways as you possibly can, because gigging doesn't pay very well. And if that means selling your CDs, then that's what I would suggest. The second reason is actually about time, and this is the most important one to me. If I get sent a CD, as I say, the first thing that I'm going to do is just rip it to digital files, stick it in a folder, and probably listen to it later. And the reason for that is that, in common with most people who do radio shows, it is not the only thing I do in my life. And so generally, as stuff comes in, I will archive it and store it and listen to it at a time that is most convenient to me. If that CD has just got unknown album by unknown artist and with track 6 on it, unfortunately it means that when I come back to it, then I don't know what I'm looking at. I have to guess it. I have to then work through, if I do know what it is, I have to then work through the album notes and find out and manually enter who it was recorded by, what the name of the album was, what the name of the track was, etc., etc. So that's kind of on a 10, let's say a 10-track CD, you're looking at making me enter 40 pieces of information before I can actually use those tracks to make a radio show or to decide on a running order or whatever it is, so that they're just not handy. If, however, when you get your CD done, you get it done in a proper professional studio and they do label all the tracks correctly, which is, to be fair, what most people do. When I say most people, I'm only talking about 60% here, because about 40% don't. Then we're all right if the tracks are labelled correctly. But it's a risk, it's a faff, and personally speaking, I would much rather have some digital files sent to me either via WeSendIt or via Dropbox or any other kind of way like that. So then I can just grab them, stick them on the hard drive, and come back to them and know exactly what they are. It's so disappointing to get CDs from people who are really, really good musicians and have produced a great album. And in fact, I was just listening to one there and I was thinking, crikey, this is good, but I have no idea who it is or who it's by. It's just track 6 on unknown album by unknown artist that I'd put on my hard drive in September last year. So even though I'd like to play it, I can't because I don't know who it is. So if you do that, we then come across the third reason, which is professionalism, and you can actually send the digital files through and they're correctly labelled. And that means, by the way, album artist isn't the name of the band, that's the person who designed the cover. The band goes in contributing artist. So, because when you actually put it into most music software, that's the little piece of information that software will look for. It won't look for who to design the cover at all. So make sure you put it in the right box. And if your tracks are all labelled correctly, then basically you're making my life easier and any other DJs who now, because of the amount of digital software that's available to people like myself, it's much easier to record, in fact, away from a radio station in many cases. And our lives are made a hell of a lot easier by not having to label all of your tracks. And to be realistic, if I get an album through nowadays and I put it into the computer to rip it and it just says unknown, 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 track 1, track 2, the chances are I will actually just take it back out and I won't play it. So there you go. Please make sure that you send through your music in a correct and usable format. Now, the one exception to this, of course, is that there are a number of DJs who don't really have an awful lot else to do, and I don't mean that in, that's probably not the best way to say it, but they specialise just in their radio shows, and they quite like having a CD as almost like a perk of the job. I think, though, my way, because of the general technological evolution, is becoming more and more common, and just generally, because what we're talking about here is best practice, making sure that your tracks are correctly labelled and sending them through digitally is just so much easier, because that's how you get more exposure, is by making the lives of the people who assist in that process easier. It's as simple as that. So anyway, if you could do that, please, then I would be very grateful. And I know a number of my fellow radio presenters also share that sentiment. Thank you very much.